Google has two very successful operating systems, Android and Chrome OS. And over the past couple years, Google's been bringing these two platforms together more and more. And now finally there's a device that sits at the center of these two worlds, the Pixel Slate. This is a 2-in-1 laptop-tablet hybrid that is a direct competitor with something like the Surface Pro 6 or the iPad Pro. But it's been done in a way that really only Google can do right now. And that comes with some really enormous potential, but also a couple of important drawbacks. The Pixel Slate is a very expensive 2-in-1, and that means you're gonna get some very high quality premium hardware that comes with it. But first off, we gotta talk about the display. This is the center of the device, and it's by far the thing that Google has knocked out of the park more than anything else. It's a 3x2, 3000 by 2000 resolution screen that's bright, beautiful, and has great colors, and it's perfect for watching movies or working on in a brightly lit office. A couple other important things to note about the chassis before we move on: the size of it and the port selection. The size is almost identical to the Surface Pro 6 in a lot of ways. It has about the same footprint on a table, and it also has the same bezels and almost the same thickness and weight. So it's pretty similar if you need a comparison there. However, the main difference is the port selection. Rather than an old school USB-A and a mini display port and a headphone jack, here you get just two USB-C ports, no headphone jack, and that's gonna be a deal killer for a lot of people who really need that on a laptop replacement. But it is in line with the iPad Pro, except again, you get that extra USB-C port, which gives you some added convenience. Also along the chassis are two forward-firing stereo speakers that sound really, really great. Compared to something like the Surface Pro 6, you're gonna get way more bass response and a much more vibrant audio profile. And it's really something that surprised us when we first started using the Pixel Slate. Its really only competitor in this space is of course the iPad Pro, which comes with its 4-speaker setup. The Pixel Slate does not come with a keyboard bundled in, and that's really unfortunate because the one they made for this device is excellent. We'll be the first ones to admit that we didn't love the circular design of the keycaps on the Pixel Slate keyboard at first. But after we've used it for hours and hours and hours during this review, we've really grew to love the feel of this keyboard. In fact, we like it more than even the Surface Pro 6 keyboard, and definitely more than the iPad Pro keyboard. As an added benefit, you also get a really solid touchpad that's much larger than the one you get on the Surface Pro 6. The back of the Folio keyboard folds up and magnetizes to the back of the Pixel Slate, which allows you to tilt the screen back and forth to whatever angle you want in a way that emulates what it feels like to use an actual hinge on a laptop. Now, I bet you're wondering whether or not the Pixel Slate can actually replace a laptop or a high-end Chromebook in terms of performance. And the answer is completely yes, though it does depend on what configuration you buy. Configurations start as low as $600, but what you get with that is an Intel Celeron processor, and that is going to be a slow, clunky CPU that's not going to be something we recommend for someone who's actually trying to replace a laptop. However, this Core i5 version, which comes with it's a Y series processor in the Whiskey Lake series from Intel, it starts at $1,000, and this is a very capable and efficient processor. It's a 5-watt processor that allows the system to be completely fanless while still giving you pretty decent multitasking performance. In terms of comparisons, you can't really compare it to something like an iPad Pro or a Surface Pro 6, both of which are going to get you much better day-to-day performance. The most easy competitor is probably the MacBook Air, the new one actually, and it has a similar Y series processor and got pretty similar scores in Geekbench and in Speedometer. Another great benefit of that Y series processor is in battery life. The Pixel Slate is of course a Chrome OS device, which is already known for getting great battery life, but when you bring those two things together, you get a system that can last for a really long time. In fact, it's much better than what you're gonna get on a Surface Pro 6. In our testing, we got over 10.5 hours in light web browsing, upwards of 14 hours in video loop, and you can expect around 6 or 7 in a heavier workload situation. Those are really fantastic numbers, and that's significantly more battery life than what you're gonna get on something like a Surface Pro 6, or honestly, a lot of laptops that cost around this much, like the MacBook Air. Now, the Pixel Slate is a Chrome OS device, meaning basically it's a Chromebook, except in tablet form. That means you're limited to what you can do in a Chrome browser, though you might be surprised by how much you can do these days with the availability of all these web apps. However, in this newest version of Chrome OS, Google has brought over a lot of basically Android features that make this a more touch-friendly experience. For example, you have a new app launcher that comes up right when you take the keyboard off that feels a lot like Android or iOS. You also have split screen mode, so you can pull up 2 different applications at the same time. And you also have notifications that have basically been ported straight over from Android. And all these things allow the system to actually function as a tablet. In some ways, it's kind of the bare bones of what you could call a tablet mode. But again, compared to something like what Microsoft has done in Windows 10, it's pretty noteworthy and feels like an actual tablet you could use in your daily life. Now, the Google Play Store comes with this device, meaning you can install your favorite Android apps and games right here and use them as a tablet. However, we really suggest that you stick to just the tablet, because when you try to use them with a cursor and in the full screen mode, you run into some bugs and some things that really just do not fit on the Chromebook platform. Clearly, Google has a ton of work ahead of it to do in terms of optimizing the software for touch and also bringing these Android apps over in a way that makes sense in the Chrome OS platform. However, Google has laid the foundation for what could eventually be the ultimate 2-in-1 experience in a way that the iPad and the Surface Pro 6 both don't have. Now, you've probably noticed I've mentioned the iPad Pro and the Surface Pro 6 quite a bit in this video, and that's again because the Pixel Slate fits side by side with those devices. So if you're looking at getting one of these devices, one of these 2-in-1s, which one is right for you? Here's a couple of guidelines as to how you can make this decision. If you're looking for a device that's primarily used as a tablet, we highly recommend the iPad Pro. This is something that has the best app selection, it has great performance, and it's basically the same price as the Pixel Slate. If you're looking for something that's more of a serious laptop replacement, we recommend the Surface Pro 6, not only because it has better port selection, has a headphone jack, it also has great multitasking performance and is compatible with pretty much any application you're gonna need. So who then is the Pixel Slate really for? Because it's a better laptop than the iPad Pro, and it's a better tablet than the Surface Pro 6. So really, it's just for that person who's always dreamt of having one device that's equally good at being both things. And that alone is a pretty impressive achievement. So what do you think of the Pixel Slate? If you had to choose between the iPad Pro, Pixel Slate, and Surface Pro 6, which would you choose as your 2-in-1? Let us know in the comments, and check out digitaltrends.com for our full review of the Pixel Slate.